All right, we are live. Sunny days in Flushing. We are about 4 days from opening day. Opening day is this Thursday. We are here on a Sunday. Mostly boring spring we've had, which is usually, I guess depends on how you look at it. But the way I look at it, it's been a relatively uneventful spring, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. And honestly, what we've seen from the Mets has been good things. Like people that you don't give a shit about the Lindor, the Soto stats because these guys are that they're veterans. Whatever they do doesn't mean shit. What it does mean and what it does help prove some guys' worth in the case of Clay Holmes, who's transitioned to starter.
Yeah.
Griffin Canning, who was a complete unknown, thought to be really bad, is now their number three starter to start the season.
Mm-hmm.
Brett Beatty, who's basically taking the second base job. Obviously, Jeff McNeil has gotten hurt and will start the season on the IL. But but even if Jeff McNeil was healthy, he's basically won that job out. I would say he would have won that job outright. So it's been a good spring for the Mets,
Yeah.
all in all.
Mania goes down, but from my understanding, he is throwing again. It looks like he's on
90 feet.
track. He's on track to come back sometime in April, maybe early May at the latest. So that's a really good sign. Montas is hurt. We knew that. So, yeah, I don't, very early on, I think in all likelihood, that's probably not going to be a great signing. Other than that, I don't think you could really complain with where the Mets are. Um, the idea of going into this season, especially once Alonso was signed, was you kind of knew like, okay, the lineup is in a very good spot. That bottom tier of the bottom half of the lineup, there's some question marks, but for the most part, you feel like this is a team that could score, and they could score early. And then the only question was really the starting rotation because this bullpen looks great. You're
That's
talking about Diaz closing. You got AJ Minter back there. Ryan Stenick came back. So you're 7, 8, 9. You feel really good about. And then even those middle innings, you've got Jose Buto in your Trevor Williams role in that
yeah.
kind of swing role. So I feel really good
Garrett.
about this bullpen. I feel very good about this lineup.
Yeah.
You had brought it up before about Brett Beatty. This is a guy that we were talking about probably being traded, right?
Yeah.
Once the Mets brought in Soto, it kind of and especially with how good Acuna looked in that limited time last year,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
kind of thought to yourself like, okay, this is probably the way it's going to look. I think the only I think thought process there would have been was that maybe the Mets going into next year, if they couldn't bring back, if Alonso decides to opt out, Vientos would move to first, and maybe they'd be looking for a third baseman. But maybe the idea now is you let Brett Beatty kind of run with second base, especially with Jeff McNeil being hurt. That kind of makes your decision a lot easier.
Yeah.
Is Acuna going to be on the major league roster or a
Probably
starter?
not.
Yeah.
So right now they actually are. We'll get to this real quick. They're looking for another right-handed infielder, and you got to assume that just means Acuna's going to AAA. He's not going to be on the roster. It's going to be
Mhm.
Beatty's second base job, and honestly, rightfully so because Acuna has not played
And
too
and
well
and,
this
and if,
spring training.
not
Not
to
played
cut
well at
you off,
all.
the fans really should not be upset about this, in my opinion.
No.
Acuna hasn't looked fantastic, but not only that, it's kind of Acuna or Brett Beatty at second, right? You're not going to is Acuna good enough to play in the major league roster? I believe he is, but if he's not, if he doesn't have a spot to play every day, you can't have him up here.
No, 100%.
And it's not about the manipulation of time or anything like that. What it really is you want this kid playing every day. Now, I think we're gonna hit a point in August. If Acuna's still down there, you're kind of not doing him any good, right? If it's August and he's still down there, you either need to trade him or you got to pull him up and you got to get rid of
Yeah.
somebody. But for right now, in the month of March going into April, you don't have to rush him up here. If he's not going to play every day, he shouldn't be here. The only reason Brett Beatty's on this roster is because he has looked fantastic in the spring, but not only that, he's going to play every day.
Yeah.
And I had kind of said this to you before Jeff McNeil got hurt.
Hmm.
I had suspected that I thought Brett Beatty was going to be the starter, and that
I've said it myself too.
McNeil was going to be the bench bat, and that McNeil was going to kind of come in and be that in that utility role again, where maybe if Nimmo wasn't ready, you could have McNeil start the season in left field or whatever. But it does seem to me like, and there is a reason. There's a reason the Mets took Brett Beatty in the first round in 2019. Okay, this is a kid that had a full ride to go play at the University of Texas, which is one of the premier programs in this country, and decided, nope, I'm going to go and I'm going to start my major league career today. He's no slouch. He's been a stud in the field. The issue is those ground balls. We've talked about it all the time. If he could just pick that bat up a little and start hitting line drives. I mean, I know it sounds like little league advice, and we're no professionals here, but that's just like what you see, right? The guy rockets the ball off the bat, hits it with the barrel. He's got a great barrel rate. His issue is just hitting it into the ground. So if he could, and I'm never a guy, I hate the phrase launch angle. I hate hearing it, but that's a guy when me and my buddy Chase were talking about the other night. If you could just tweak that launch angle just a little bit and get him a little more under it, I think you could have a lot more success.
Agreed. And it looks like he's been doing some of that this spring training, and he's worked on shortening his swing and making it so he's able to get the barrel to the ball quicker and, on an upward trajectory to not just drill the ball on the ground. With that long swing, he's coming in late. Just basically, that's all you can do is hit it into the ground. But with this, it looks good, and we've seen it before with Beatty in spring training, go off and then come to the regular season, just kind of fall flat on his face. But it feels different this time, and there's a reason the Mets continue to give him chance after chance after chance, and as they should. Tremendous talent. If everything comes together, he's gonna be better than Vientos if everything comes together. He's probably the best of all those young players that have come up, probably better than Alvarez, better than Acuna, Mauricio, Vientos.
He's a guy that definitely, a guy like Vientos, a guy like Alonso, those guys are going to strike out a lot. But you're going to deal with it because of the pop that they bring, right? Because of, especially Vientos, those extra base hits, those home runs, the clutch hitting of Vientos, right? We saw that in the playoffs. This was a guy, the moment never got too big for him. Didn't matter what round it was in the playoffs. This was a guy that was producing. So you'll put up with the strikeouts for those guys. What you won't put up with is the strikeouts for Brett Beatty if he's not hitting 300 and he's not hitting home runs. So, and this is also a guy, he's hurt right now, but Francisco Alvarez, this is a guy, another one that's got tremendous pop in that bat. He is an absolute wild card in the lineup. He could kill anyone, but his pitch selection has just been awful since he's come into the league. He's shown us the pop. And he's shown us some great defense at times. But that pitch selection has to get better. And I would say the same for Brett Beatty. If Brett Beatty's a guy that could really limit the strikeouts and continue to play defense at the rate he plays, I mean, I know there's been some ugly moments with him at second, but it's new. This is a guy that's been playing third base, left field since he got here. And he's only been thrust. And you know what? And rightfully so, too, because I don't think Vientos is a good third baseman. I don't think he'll be the third baseman in the next 2 years on this team. I think he'll be some level of a first base or DH, but he played so well last year. Beatty does not have you have to, exactly. Yeah, he has earned that spot, and until he becomes a liability, that's where he is.
Yeah, 100%. And I think if Beatty truly can replicate or to some degree what he's done in spring training this season, and do that in the regular season at the bottom of the Mets order, between that 6 and 9 spot, somewhere down there, this lineup's just going to be so much longer. You obviously have your 1 through 5, whatever order it is, obviously. It's going to be Lindor, then Soto. After that, Alonso, Vientos, Nimmo. Then after that, who do you got there? You got Beatty now. Alvarez, when he comes back, Luis Trens until then, he's solid. Jose Siri, and then who am I missing? DH, Jesse Winker. Jesse Winker / Starling Marte / Alexander Canario. So we'll see what happens there. And you need someone like Brett Beatty just to have that pop. Because Jesse Winker has pop. Starling Marte, they all have pop. But no one, Beatty could have like a 900 OPS. He's someone that can be an absolute X factor in a lineup. Someone that could be playing in the top 3, hitting in the top 3 when he lives up to his potential. If you can get that in your 7th spot or your 6th spot, I mean, that's unheard of, and it's what the Dodgers have been able to do, basically.
Well, I mean, I tell every Met fan I can, think back to the NLCS, right? what killed us. It wasn't really, I mean, yeah, Freddie Freeman to an extent. It wasn't really Mookie. It wasn't Shohei. It was guys like Tommy Edman. It was the bottom half of that Dodger lineup. And yeah, the top half did well in the World Series, but same thing. The bottom half just kept the lineup going, kept those innings going against the Yankees. And ultimately, that's what won them the World Series, right? It wasn't really just I mean, you're talking about a team that won a World Series with 3 starting pitchers. You know, they were throwing bullpen games in every single series that they played in.
Yeah.
With the exception, I want to say they did one in the NLDS as well, but I think they did.
I can't remember, but I think there were 1 or 2 against us.
I believe, I don't remember,
because we won 2 games. We won the second game.
I think wasn't Game 6. Yeah, Game 6 was a bullpen game, right?
Yes.
Yeah, I think it was.
Yeah, the last.
The point is they were able to do this. I mean, all we have heard about, you hear about it a lot in New York. All we have heard about is starting pitching. Starting pitching wins you championships, and starting pitching wins you divisions. Yeah, it's the same thing as football, right? Everybody's defense wins championships. You know what wins championships? Great teams. Teams. Okay, I wouldn't say by any stretch that the Dodgers had great starting pitching last year. They had a tremendous lineup. They had a murderer's throw.
Bullpen.
They had a murderer's throw 1 through 3. And then the bottom half of that lineup was fantastic, and they just found ways to get on base and move guys around. And and that bullpen was lights out. Lights out in the playoffs.
No, it really wasn't. Hopefully the Mets can have that this year with their bullpen. And obviously there's some question marks heading into the season with the rotation. Things have looked good. Guys like Clay Holmes earned the opening day starter job. Yes. Griffin Canning has come out of basically nowhere. Everyone thought this was just a depth signing, maybe a bullpen piece, maybe someone they try to have stashed away in AAA. No, he's going to be starting the last game in Houston as our number 3 starter. And he's looked great. He's looked really good. And this is David Stern showing his genius. And look, is it going to 100% replicate to the regular season? I hope so. But who knows? We don't know that yet. It's spring training. But the things look good. Everything looks good with Griffin Canning, and I think that's the X factor for the Mets. Well, him and David Peterson, but those are 2 X factors for their rotation.
What you need to remember here with the Mets is this lineup is going to hit. Okay, we know what Lindor is going to look like in the beginning of the season. We know it's going to look ugly, right? It's going to look ugly probably till Mother's Day.
Hopefully not as ugly.
Hopefully not as ugly as it did last year and the year before, but it's not going to look good.
Hopefully the Soto protection will help him out a bit.
Yes, right? That's what we hope. You know that this is a lineup. Oh, piece of dog hair in the mouth. Thanks, buddy. You know that this is a lineup that's going to mash. You know there's a lineup that's going to score runs. If you could just get to the All-Star break, the trade deadline, and you're in second place in this division, you're on pace to win, 90, you're well within a wild card spot, right? You're that 1 or that 2, and you've got some distance with the 3, then you know that you could trade for an arm if you have to. And you know what? By all likelihood, I think they will have to. I mean, let's just be honest here, right? Like, I as good as Griffin Canning and Tyler McGill have looked, and David Peterson, like something's got to give. The law of averages is going to tell you that one of these guys, 2 of these guys is not going to be what they look like in the spring. And that's okay. That's okay. Ultimately, what you're really looking for is if it's a healthy season for Kodai Senga, he's getting Cy Young votes. He may not win the award, but he's going to be that good. David Peterson, pitch to a 3, a mid-3 ERA, right? Clay Holmes.
Build off the last year. Don't revert back to what you were.
So I'm not super worried about the starting pitching. I don't think by any means we're going to have like a top 5 rotation, but I think in today's game, I don't really think that that's a necessity.
It's not.
I really don't, especially with how much the Mets use the bullpen. And what killed us last year was that Dodgers bullpen. That Dodgers bullpen was fantastic, right? It wasn't the starting pitching, it was their bullpen. So
that's the thing. If the Mets bullpen is that good, then we don't have to worry about the starting pitching as much. It's okay that Griffin Canning's in our rotation, and even if he's pitching to like a 4 or 5 ERA, close to a 5 ERA, it's not a problem because we have guys to back him up and come in at a moment's notice and just take over the game and nothing to worry about. The problem is that the bullpen, people start getting hurt. People start, they performing poorly. That's when we run into issues because the rotation isn't super deep, like some of your other teams out there, like your Phillies, your Braves, some of these teams that have incredibly deep rotations. So
Right.
the bullpen needs to be on point to really kind of what's the word, to help them out.
Well,
Supplement what you're not gonna get from the complete rotation.
you really got to have one or the other, right? And
Right.
and I don't know how many rotations you've got in today's game that have starters that are going into the seventh inning consistently every night. They're just not. They're not doing that anymore. We're concerned about pitch count. Whether you agree with the philosophy or not, that's pretty much what everyone does. And so it's become imperative to have a deep bullpen, a bigger bullpen, and honestly, a bullpen of guys that could go more than one inning. I mean, some of the most important Mets games we saw last year, whatever it was, game 162 or 161 against the Braves.
Yeah.
Some of these playoff games against Milwaukee and Philly, Edwin Diaz was going 2 innings. Jose Buto was coming in for 2, 3, 4 innings. Like you need guys that can do that. Ryan Stenik did it a few times, I believe, where he had come out, started an inning, and then had to come out and finish the next or whatever. So you need guys that could not only, come in frequently, but come in for more than just one inning. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they've got. And
a few guys that can do that.
I feel significantly better than I did like end of February, I guess I would say. Because when did the Manaea news break? Was that February or early March?
I think it was like the first week of March. So
okay.
Yeah. And the thing is, we didn't know. It was just kind of a shock thing. And obviously then he comes out, 1 to 3 weeks, he'll start throwing again. Then he starts throwing again. And now they're calling mid to late April. I mean, in all, he might miss 3 starts, 3, maybe 4 starts. And that's not a problem. Throughout the season, a guy misses 3, 4 starts. That's normal, I mean, that, a little blister, whatever it might be that might push him back a start, or just had to go to a bullpen game that day. No why else then. So if this is all he misses all year, it's water under the bridge like nothing happened. Just your run of the mill season. Now, hopefully, it's not something that is going to be a frequent thing this season with him dealing with little nagging injuries, but we will see. Hopefully not. And he's not someone, I don't think, in his career that's been that injury prone. So hopefully that proves to be true this year. What's up, Stevie? Hey, Angela.
Angela is
my girlfriend. No, she's at work.
Oh, she's at work. She's watching from work. What a dog, Angela. I love you.
Yeah, I didn't even see that.
We are actually probably a good time to announce it now. We, for our very limited following, we will be at what we call Poor Man's Opening Day. That is the first Saturday of the season. That's April 5th against the Toronto Blue Jays. We will be at that game. We will be in the bus lot. My season ticket guy tells me that's the Pork Chop Hill lot, but I don't know. I don't remember seeing that when we pulled up into it, but It's the only lot at Citi Field with all the buses in it. We will be there. We'll probably be wearing Sunny Days stuff. So come and see us. If you're around, have a beer, have a piece of sandwich, take a picture with the boys, have a piece of sandwich, and take a picture with the boys. Say hello. We've been doing this. 2021 I think was the first year we had started doing it with Uncle Billy.
Yeah. We've been doing it a while. It's a good time. It's always a very
good time. That's a great game to go to if you really want to go to. You're really excited to go to a Mets game, beginning of the season. That is probably the best game. If you can't, going to opening day is really expensive. Going to this is a little cheaper. It's actually significantly cheaper to go to this game, and it's kind of. You've been to opening day, right?
Yeah.
It's similar vibes to opening day. It's not as good, but
if it's a day game, yes. If it's a night game, which we haven't had yet, which is weird, which is an interesting thing. So we'll see how the vibes are at night. But usually they're still pretty similar. Things are chipper. Everyone's excited just to be there and get back into Citi Field. We're a week away. Less than a week away.
Yeah.
First pitch.
Did you catch any of the Dodgers series? Or no, you were at work.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had no interest, to be honest. I had no interest in watching it.
I'm currently working nights, so first game I wasn't able to watch. Second game, I pretty much watched most of the game.
Yeah.
Roki Sasaki, first start, 25-year-old kid, so I'm not going to kill him, but he didn't look good. And in all fairness, Yamamoto didn't look good his first start and had a fantastic season for himself last year. So,
Yeah.
And
then
doesn't
he looked
mean
good in his first start this year. So
right. So doesn't mean anything, but Roki didn't look great. AJ Pierzynski, I believe, was on the call with Fox, and he was kind of talking a lot about he's got a fastball, and that's kind of it. He doesn't have a lot of secondary pitches. So when his fastball is not getting in the strike zone, there's not really a lot more he can do.
so
And you kind of saw that.
guys that day.
He walked a lot. He walked the bases loaded, then he walked a run in. I believe he only went 3 innings.
3 1/3. Yeah.
3 1/3. But he's a guy. At the end of the day, I mean, the Dodgers invested.
Talent's there. Yeah.
The talent's there, and they invested $5 million a year in him. If it doesn't work out, they'll cut bait. The Dodgers, make no mistake about this, the Dodgers are absolutely the pinnacle of baseball. They are the pinnacle of the National League. If we want to get to a World Series anytime soon, make no mistake, we are going to have to go through LA unless somehow San Diego can beat them in the division series, which probably won't happen.
What we hope for as Mets fans that these Padres, these Giants, these teams in the West, and the Diamondbacks, definitely the Diamondbacks too, can start to win some games against them. They're not going to win the division. They're not going to overtake that division, but they can take some wins away from them. The Dodgers win, mid 90s, 92 have 92 wins, 92 to 95. The Mets in a good season, a really good season, can definitely overtake them as the number 1 seed. If it has to run through Queens, things can change.
And I also want to kind of touch on this too, because you were talking about the Diamondbacks and the Padres there in terms of divisions. This is still, the NL East is still, I would say, the best division in baseball. The Phillies,
the most complete division.
It's the most complete, right? The Nationals are going to be bad. The Marlins are going to be bad.
But those teams can be sneaky. I think the Nationals are going to be
I gotta get
pesky this year.
No
problem.
You keep the train going here. Let's go.
Yeah. And so what Matt was saying, just how the NL East is probably the best all-in-all division from top to bottom. I mean, obviously you have the Mets, the Phillies, and the Braves. All I think are top 5 in odds to win the World Series. Not nearly as good as the Dodgers, but they still have 3 of the top 5 odds in all of baseball. Not only that, you have teams like the Marlins. The Marlins aren't going to be good. The Marlins aren't going to be good. They didn't spend any money on anyone. But the Nationals are a team. They're young and they're pesky. They have James Woods, who we saw last year. He's going to be a stud. They have who did they draft last year? Dylan Cruz, I think, is his name, from LSU. They drafted him last year, and he might be up
Washington?
this year. Yeah, he might be up this year. I know he was in some spring training games. I actually think he came up at the end of last season. So this is a young Nationals team. They're having guys. They're making bank on the guys that they traded for when trading away Soto to the Padres. And not only that, they've been a bad team since they won the World Series. So they are they've had top draft capital to compile some top prospects. So this is a team that I don't think is going to win 82 games. I don't think they're going to be at or above 500. They are going to be pesky. I would watch out with them. Don't go blowing your lid or getting all pissed off that the Mets might lose to them a couple times this year, because they're going to be a good team. They got some good players. They got some good young players.
I just don't want Mets fans to kind of look at this season and kind of say, if we don't win the East, it's a disaster. Or like, you saw how far this team went from a wild card spot. I think when it comes
to wild card spot too.
From the last wild card spot, right? Like we were potentially we lost in Game 6 of the NLCS, right? And if you had won Game 6, sure, anything could happen in Game 7. Point is that I think in football it's a little different. You've had the wild card system for a long time in football. You've had 2 wild card teams win the Super Bowl. It's really hard to wild card
one, baby.
The Giants and the Packers, right? The Giants in 07, Packers in 11. That's the only 2 times you've seen it. In baseball, I believe it's happened more than once.
The Rangers, most recently, it was an all wild card World Series. Rangers, Cardinals. Yeah. I think the Nationals, when they won it, were a wild card team.
Because I think the Braves have won the division that year.
I'm trying to think of who else.
The point of the matter is that the Braves are still a very good team. a great team, potentially better than us in the regular season, and
Oh, and they have
the Phillies are a great team.
Yep.
So you want to get into the dance. You want to firmly be. I think what you don't want is you just don't want to see a start that the Mets had last year. It was an incredible run, right? Second half of the season.
can't bank on that.
But that those things don't happen, and they don't happen for a reason. I believe there's been like 4 other teams in MLB history that have done what the Mets have done last year in terms of getting into the playoffs for how bad they started. You don't like those odds, even with Juan Soto. So you want to start the season strong, and I think that they will. I mean, so many games last year in April, May, beginning of June, the Mets were coming out scoring 3 runs. I don't think we're going to see that again.
They're not going to
I
do
think
that.
you're going to see a lineup that's going to put up a lot of runs this year.
Yeah.
And as long as Juan Soto is here and he's healthy, you're gonna continue to see them put up a lot of runs. There's a lot of power in this lineup. It's not a lineup of guys that could steal a lot of bases. I'd like to see a little more of that. I'd like to see Lindor get the green light. When Nimmo's
Lindor
healthy,
gets the green light. He had 30 steals.
He does, but I think he's capable of more, and I think they kind of slow him down a little. I'd like to see them give him the green light more because I think he's capable of it. I think Brett Beatty is fast enough to steal bases. I think when Luis Angel Acuna is up here,
he will
as he
steal
should
bases.
be, he will steal bases, right?
Jose Siri will probably
should
steal some bases.
I mean, me and Chase were talking about this. If Jose Siri is batting like even 250 for this team, he's going to steal 45 bases.
Doesn't even matter if he's batting. Oh well, yeah, 100%. And but the thing is, Jose Siri doesn't even need to bat 250. If he bats 200 and hits 20 home runs at the 9 spot, I'm fine with that.
Right,
he's here for his defense and his boom or bust bat. You know what I mean? And we're just hoping for more boom than bust.
Right. Absolutely. So there's a lot to look forward to this year. And keep in mind, I think that I don't think that Stearns is going to be conservative here at the deadline. I think we have seen this team be very conservative at the deadline since Steve Cohen's taken over. And I don't think it's Steve Cohen related. I think it's just been the GMs that have been here. In the beginning, it was Sandy and then Billy Epler. I feel like they never really felt like they were able to take that shot. In 2022, there was really nobody available. Daniel Vogelbach was the best guy available. And
the biggest shot we took was Javi Baez, and that was a mistake.
I don't even think that was a mistake. I could give you 10 reasons why it wasn't.
Just the fact that Pico Armstrong. No, he wasn't a mistake. That Javi played bad. He actually played really good for us.
Javi
played mistake
fantastic for this team.
Pico Armstrong looks like a beast, and to give him up for a rental, and we don't even make the playoffs. That sucks. That stings. You know what I mean? It's not like we made the playoffs, and he was a big reason for it. No, we didn't even make the playoffs. So,
but you've got to take those chances. You've got to take those chances, and we can't prospect hug forever. And I think we're in a window here. You have Kodai Senga for 2 more years after this. You just signed Soto. You have Lindor under contract for a long time. You don't know what's going to happen with Alonso after this year. He could very well opt out. So it's important that if the Mets are in a really good spot at the deadline and there's a starter available or there's a guy in the bullpen that's whatever we need, you've got to take that shot.
Pull the trigger.
You've got to pull the trigger because to come that far last year, I mean, and they overachieved, but to come that far, I think it's fair to have the expectations that we should be in the NLCS this year. And maybe it'll be against the Dodgers, but that's kind of the way I look at this team. Like, I think they're that good. I think they've got that much pop in the lineup.
I agree.
And I think the starting pitching can be good enough to get us there again.
Yeah.
But if there is something at the deadline, but we've got a long time between here and there. You have no idea who's going to be available. Obviously, the Padres are going through their ownership issues right now, so potentially there's going to be some guys in San Diego available. If Toronto does not have a great season from the get-go,
Vladdy
would not. I don't even know about. I can't guarantee you Vladdy, but I think guys like Chris Bassett and Max Scherzer are going to be. Don't saying that we want either one of those guys, but that's 2 more starters that could potentially be on the market come June, July. So, what's the deadline this year? August 1st again?
Yeah, somewhere around there, end of July, beginning of August. So we have time until then, but I don't really want to dwell or think about too much trade stuff. But what I will say about it is I think that this is I don't want to use this word, but I can't think of anything better. The last straw for some of these guys, like your Luis Angel Acuna's, potentially your Brett Beatty's. Some guys in the minors that haven't made it here yet. Blake Tidwell, a pitcher who's been kind of stuck in AAA. Dom Hamill too. Not going to continue naming guys, but these guys, you can only give them so much. At a certain point, you need to try to recoup some value on them. If someone's willing to wants them for one of their players, it can work out. So I think some guys are at the end of their ropes with the Mets. I mean, it's either you make strides and you look like you're going to be a piece that's going to come up here and perform and contribute, or we need to get some value back on you. Simple as that.
And keep in mind too, we haven't seen him since the end of 23, and I know he had a fantastic end of 23. Ronnie Mauricio's coming back at some point this year. I kind of have a hot take, and I don't know where you're at on this. Just thought of it right now. I might be a total asshole for saying this, but he's got value. I think you've got to
trade him.
I feel like an asshole, but I think I have to say this. You got to shit or get off the pot here with Francisco Alvarez, and what I mean by that is you see what the Braves have done, and I'm never one to I don't think copying great franchises is like the key, but great franchises like the Braves see these guys and they lock them down very early, right? And they prevent themselves from overpaying. And what they do is they don't keep all of those guys, right? Like Ronald Acuna has an opt-out in 2026. He's definitely going to take that because he can make a lot more money. But when you look back at Ronnie Acuna, right, but when he goes into the Hall of Fame, this is probably a guy that's going to go to the Hall of Fame as a Brave, right? I mean, depending on what he does on his next team, if there is a next team. But you've got to lock these guys down early. Alvarez has been incredible for us at times and dreadful at others. And I'm in favor of extending him today. Like I would extend him now while he's hurt. I'll be honest with you.
I would offer him a contract.
Huh?
I'd offer him something, maybe like 8 years, 15 million.
I would love to buy out some of that arbitration. Maybe buy myself two or three.
And what is he? 23. So
he's 22. He's
22.
I would love to pay him till he's 30 instead of kind of paying him till he's 26 with the arbitration. And I say this because you got to shit or get off the pot. If you wait till he's 26 and he's that good, he's as good as we think he is, you're going to have to significantly overpay him. And it's not that Steve Cohen can't, but it's going to be hard to justify that money. And I know it's hard to find catchers. So you're going to, in the end, you're going to have to do it. But when I say shit or get off the pot, I mean, like, you either think he's the future or you don't. And if you think he's the future, extend him today, because extending him at 26 years old is going to cost an enormous amount of money for a guy that doesn't play every day, because no catcher does. And if you don't think it, then you should trade him now, because what you could get back for him is a tremendous amount. I mean, guys that can catch that well that the entire staff wants to pitch to, and also have the power to put 30 balls over the wall every year, those guys don't grow on trees. So to find that is really hard. And I'm not in the camp of really letting a guy like that play out. You want to let Brett Beatty play out? I'm fine with that, right? He's an infielder. We have infielders. Luis Angel Acuna, it's early. You can't say anything about him yet. Some of these guys you could let play out. I think,
someone like that, you need to recoup a decent bit of value or not.
Look at what it just cost us to bring in Juan Soto. Look at what it cost us to extend Francisco Lindor. Extending these guys. Look at potentially what Pete Alonso's looking for. And obviously he was looking for way too much, but this was a guy I was saying in 2021 we should have extended. So that we could have avoided all this nonsense. And you knew where he is, and he's in the lineup. So that's just where I am with Alvarez. You either think he's the guy or you don't. But if you wait till like year one of arbitration, then you're probably not going to extend him, because he's going to look at it and
want to hit free agency.
Exactly. Like, why am I going to do this? Like, you want to extend them when they're making $800,000, $900,000 a year, not when they're making, on arbitration $15 million. Because what's the benefit to me? I'm going to take the extra $5 to lose millions, in my late 20s when I'm in my prime. I'm not doing that. So
I 100%. I think they will. I think those conversations will be had, and we'll see. We'll see once he gets back. Hopefully, he's back on the shorter end of his what's it called? His injury stint. I think it was 6 to 8 weeks they were calling for, and so that would put him right at the beginning of May.
And just to clarify here, I'm not coming out here saying that the Mets should trade him, but
No.
I just want to see them be a little more like make a decision on him because I kind of lost you there.
Am I here?
Yeah,
You see me?
yeah, I thought you muted. Yep, never mind. You're good.
No, I'm good. I'm out that I had a cramp. I was trying to not stand up and go crazy.
You're hurting today. You're hurting on this Sunday.
Oh, I'm hurting bad. But no, yeah, I agree with you there. They're not trading him. They're not trading him. That'll never happen, and I don't think they should. I think they should extend him. Try to get him at like 8 years, $15 million a year. I think that's something that he would be open for. I think there's been talks. I'm pretty sure that there has, and I know there's been rumors.
There's always been rumors. I've never heard that the Mets have sat down and spoke to him. To tell you the truth.
I'm sure there's been some sort of talks. I don't think there's been radio sounds. I'm sure they've reached out, and maybe there was no official meeting, but I'm sure there's been words exchanged between Alvarez, Steve, the GM, and then Alvarez's agent, obviously. So it would be a smart decision, especially with someone with his talent at that position, his age.
Stevie Mac chiming in. Marte still has some interest. Yeah, we've heard that continuously through the offseason that they were going to trade Marte. He's still here. Marte is a guy, I think, especially now with that reduced role that he's getting, that he's not going to be playing right field every day. I think that there's some value in a guy that is okay with not playing every day and can still play at a high level. He's a guy that gets hurt, so you really don't want him out there every day. I think Marte is someone that's here today on this roster. It would not shock me if by, June 15th, he's playing somewhere else and we got a reliever for him or some sort of a package deal. Because he's another one. Like, are you gonna, once Ronnie Mauricio is showing that he's healthy again, if Ronnie Mauricio looks good in the minors, are you really gonna keep Marte on this roster? And Marte's another one. Like, Mauricio's another one. You're not gonna call him up to not play, but if there is a place for him to play every day, even if it's at DH, you've got to do that over a Marte at 37. How old Marte? 37 years old now. 38.
How old is Marte? I was just looking up his stats from spring training. He is,
I think,
36.
Yeah. So
36.
He's a guy that's obviously not getting younger. And I think if you could improve there, and I think the Mets can, then you got to jump on that. But for right now, I he's going to be here for opening day, and I would foresee him being here for the first couple months of the season.
I think a few things with Marte. I know I've said a bunch how they should trade him. They move on from him, but I think one, he's definitely a clubhouse guy. I think the guys love him in the clubhouse. Soto's friends with him. He's I'm not gonna say that's the reason he came here, but that he's friends, so he had a familiar face to associate with once he gets here. So it's not just all new faces. And then the rest of the guys, the younger Spanish guys, probably love him. As a veteran that's been in the league for, I don't know, what is it, like 10 plus years now, 10-ish years. Yeah. So that's someone that is going to be a good mentor for these young Spanish kids. And then on top of that, even at 36 years old, he can still hit the ball and he can still run the bases. He can't play the field. He cannot play the field. I can tell you that much. No. Oh, I don't know what's going on there, but he can run the bases. He can hit the ball. So I guess he sticks there. But one thing I did want to talk about, Alexander Canario, the guy they traded from the Cubs. I think we just gave up cash considerations too. What is going to happen with him? Because he doesn't have any options. If the Mets aren't putting him on their major league roster, either he can allow them to outright into AAA. Otherwise, he has to pass through waivers, and he's not going to pass through waivers. No. He's not, or someone's got to trade for him. But this is someone who today hit it. I'm pretty sure he hit 2 home runs, 1 grand slam, and 1 solo shot. This is someone who, in AAA, has a 30 home run season. This is someone that could be a starting corner outfielder for the Mets. I don't know if that's going to happen. The Mets have a pretty log-jammed outfield right now, with including Canario, 7 guys that can play the outfield in some capacity. So
the only thought is that maybe, but I think Siri is here to play every day. The only thing I would have thought
it's not Siri or Tyrone Taylor, because I think they're them too with their ability to play center field, and really no one else is able to. I get Canario is able to actually.
Well, no, where I was going with this is that maybe maybe the idea that some people had was play Canario at left, but like I don't think so. Like I think that's
And Nimmo
Nimmo's
DH?
going to be in left, and no, like move Nimmo to center here and there. But I don't think that's going to happen. I think like Nimmo's in left, and that's kind of where he is.
And that's where he's
And
staying.
that's where he's staying. Like barring injury,
staying.
Nimmo's going to be playing. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if you've got 2 injuries there at center, I think you move Nimmo to center before you move Juan Soto. That's just natural.
No, you're not
right?
moving Juan Soto. I think you put Canario there before you even put Nimmo there. So I think the
Possibly.
Mets, they moved him to left field for a reason. He's staying in left field.
So
He's
then,
got a new arm.
do you think that one of Canario or Marte gets traded before the season starts?
I think one of them. One of them isn't making the roster. You can't. And I personally, I lean towards Marte. I know I've said this a ton of times. I know I just hyped him up and I gave him a bunch of had a bunch of positive words for him, but. And I don't think Stearns will do this. I don't think you can carry 2 DHs on your roster because Marte can play the field. He ain't playing the field.
No,
you saw there was a disaster last year. Jesse Winker can't really play the field either. I mean, they can play the field in emergency, but the difference between emergency and someone that could actively play there every day. I think Canario is the way to go over Marte, and he'll be your right-handed DH. And then you have options there. It's not like. We feel like we have to put Marte there because it's Marte. It's Canario. I don't care if he's sitting on the bench. You want to move Alonso there so Vientos can play first and they play third, and I don't know, Acuna comes up. So, there's things that they could do. The things like they can, manage the roster more so with someone like Canario who's unproven and someone that hasn't been here for as long.
And a name we haven't brought up yet. So I guess what we're saying here is that we should watch potentially for Marte Canario to get traded before the
traded, or I guess maybe outright drop. So I don't think that
Marte would be hard. There's a lot of money tied up. There's like 19
Marte won't get dropped. Canario would be the one to get dropped.
Canario, yeah, but
because I think you try to outright you try to send them down AAA. They refuse. Then they got to pass through waivers. I think teams can offer you trades for them before they pass through waivers, and then if you don't get any trade offers on them, then the waiver process starts.
So there's something to watch here, especially with the uncertainty going forward with Pete Alonso. Someone that's really emerged. A name we haven't talked about in a long time. So there were 2 guys traded. We had gotten rid of Verlander. When we sent them back to Houston, we got Drew Gilbert and Ryan Clifford. And the thought process was that Drew Gilbert was really the guy that we had wanted. And Clifford was kind of thrown in there. He played first base. I think at that point we had really thought we were going to lock down Alonso long term. It would have been a log jam, and Clifford would have been gone. Fast forward to 2025, Gilbert has not really shown us much, but it's Ryan Clifford that's the guy that has shown a lot of pop and a lot of consistency at the plate. That is a name a year from now. It wouldn't shock me if Pete Alonso opts out and we're looking at Ryan Clifford playing first base every day for the Mets. It wouldn't shock me this year if Clifford continues to hit as well as he does.
Yeah.
That we see Ryan Clifford up here at the major league level.
This year?
It would not shock me if
he's not. He's far away.
It really wouldn't shock me. I've heard his name more and more. It seems like the Mets executives are really, really. And listen, sometimes we're just higher on the executives are higher on this guy just to trade him, and I get that. I totally get that. But if you see a guy like Winker struggling, a guy like Marte, if our plan at DH is not working out the way we want, I could see them pulling up a guy like Clifford before I see them moving Vientos every day to DH because Vientos is young. Yeah. Vientos is young, and you want him out in the field. There's still room for growth at that position. And if he's playing third, he's obviously still in the lineup anyway. So watch that. Watch that this season. Watch for that, I should say. If there is a lot of inconsistency, because when you really look at it, since the Mets have had the DH position every day in the lineup, it hasn't looked great. It's been a lot of inconsistency, and we had kind of had high hopes when Dom Smith and Pete Alonso were here that some version of that was going to work out, but it never did. And we've had a lot of inconsistency there. So I hope Winker works out. I hope all these guys work out, and I hope Clifford just comes up next year. But that's a name I would look to a little bit.
We'll see. We'll see what happens. I think there's still some growth there. He hasn't had the best spring.
I think he's played in AAA yet, right? He's only been
he's still in AA, and he had a rough-ish year last year. It was rough in Brooklyn, and then once he got called up to Double-A Binghamton, he performed a little bit better. But one, the strikeout numbers are too high. He's striking out like 30% of the time. The eye's good. He can draw his walks and he mashes home runs. It's just a matter of cutting that strikeout rate down a little bit. Someone that you're going to be a big bop, you're going to strike out, but you need to cut it down where it's maybe a quarter of the time you're striking out. Right. Not a third, a quarter. I think that's reasonable because that's still a high strikeout rate, just not nearly as bad. And he's just someone that he has not performed well this spring. He's having a rough spring. He's had some big hits, some big homers. Dude's got tons of power, but the spring training hasn't been too kind to him. I think he has like a below a 100 average, so it's not looking too good.
Has it really been that bad? Have I just been looking at his only home runs?
I don't know how many
every
games.
Every time I open up Twitter, it's a Ryan Clifford home run.
He might have 15 at bat, so that's not really, that's 5 games. What I mean, right there, it's 4 or 5 games. So that's not much to look at in terms of sample size. But let's see, 13 at bats. So again, it's not much to look at in sample size, and I don't think this is counting because I think he's on the minor league spring training right now, if I'm not mistaken. That's where he's been assigned to. Plus, he was in the
breakout game.
And I was just about to bring that up, the breakout game where he looked really good. So I think there are things that we've seen we don't see with him. We haven't seen a lot of him other than the spring breakout game since he got assigned to the minor league camp. So he's someone that I look at in the future, not this year, 2026 and beyond, because I still think he's at least another year, if not 2 out. The person I would say honestly to look for would be Jet Williams coming up maybe this year. He's there.
I think so.
Jet Williams
as
a position player.
Logjam because you've got Acuna, you've got Beatty. If both of those guys are,
he's playing center field. I mean, you're not. If Jet Williams just blows up in AAA and he looks like he's the guy, Jose Siri is not your center fielder anymore. You find a way to make that work, unless they're really killing it here at the major league level. But I think that's someone that could make an impact. And then obviously pitching, you have Brandon Sproat and Blade Tidwell, someone that's been he's just kind of been stuck in AAA. Had a really good spring. He looked really, really good.
Sproat, I'm assuming Sproat's not making the major league roster at this point. Did he get something?
What was it? 2-3 weeks ago, he got reassigned to the minor league spring training camp. So no, that's been out of the cards. But he looked good this spring. He had one really good game. I think his other game for the big league club wasn't so good, but this is someone that is right there, and he's risen the ranks fast. I think you need to see some stability out of him in AAA. Need him to show that he can do this consistently and that he can continue to find ways to get guys out with secondary stuff and just work on his fastball, because that thing is straight as an arrow. And these guys, something's coming in there straight, doesn't move much, they're crushing it here at the major league level. They're crushing it down AAA. Mm-hmm. So he needs to find ways to add some movement, either just mixing his off speed and secondary pitches more, or just start adding some movement to the fastball, some way, shape, or form. So those are 2 guys that I'd look to see come up at some point this year. Who knows if it'll happen, but those are the guys I think are closest and make the most sense.
So opening day is Thursday, March 27th. I believe the Mets are on at
3:40, I think is start time.
3:10, 3:40, something like that. Are you looking it up for me?
Yeah. It is 4:10.
The Yankees. The Yankees are on at like 3:45. That's why I was looking at that.
The Yankees. 4:10.
Okay. So we're probably, I'm assuming, what time are you home from work? We're not going to be able to do a show before that. We actually might with Chase. We might be able to do a show. I don't know. Would you be able to pop on?
100%.
Yeah? 100%?
Yeah, 100%.
Okay.
Before the game, you're saying?
Oh, no, Chase won't, because Chase is going to be on vacation. So, yeah, before the game. Would you be able to do a show at like 3?
I get out at 3, so I can hustle home and we can try to do one real quick.
All right.
I get home by 3:30 that day, the latest.
Let's figure this out off air. Do we have anything else in terms of opening day?
Well, before
opening day starter.
Before we do end this show, when we can guarantee we can get it in before the season starts, I wanted to just go over a few bold predictions. Yeah. 3 bold predictions each of us have, and since I brought it up, I'll give you a little time to think over there. My first one, it's probably my biggest bold prediction. The boldest of bold predictions. It's not a World Series. I'm not saying they're going to win the World Series. But David Peterson and Clay Holmes both get Cy Young votes. This is something that I said earlier in spring training. Once we started to see what Clay Holmes can do as a starter, I even said before he got the opening day nod, I was like, this guy looks good, and he probably deserves the opening day nod over Senga, over any of these other guys, and he got it. This is someone that is gaining a lot of trust with Stearns, with Mendoza. He obviously knew Mendoza from his time, from both their times with the Yankees, so he's gaining their trust, and he's looked awesome. He's looked awesome. And David Peterson is someone that seems like between the hip surgery and this pitching lab, they've been able to find things for him to look better and better and better. And he's proving that he hopefully, with this year, that he can be a legitimate top 3 starter in the rotation, So if that's the case, if he can continue to expand on what he did last year, I think he very well could get Cy Young votes too.
Okay, your other 2 predictions, or was
that?
that?
You want to keep going? No, you want me to keep going?
Here
we go 1-1.
I'm still thinking here. 3 bold predictions.
I was going to say,
or just for the Mets, like for everyone, or for the Mets?
For the Mets specifically. I'll go again. Brett Baty. I don't know how you feel about this one. Brett Baty. I think he hits 25 plus home runs and becomes an integral part in this lineup. I oddly enough, in Chris's stream, CPNY, I about 3 weeks ago, the beginning of March, I'm like, Brett Baty's going to be the opening day second baseman. Mark my words. I don't know if I find the stream, I'll send you a picture of you saying that. And everyone was like, no way. And here we are. It's not official yet.
I don't think Chris is a big Brett Baty guy, right?
He's not. I don't think so either. But we are here, and it's not official. I would have just said Brett Baty opening day second baseman, but since it's pretty much a shoo-in at this point, we'll just go with 25 plus home runs.
My prediction, 3 bold statements. I don't know how bold this is. Bold statement, I think both Jeff McNeil and Starling Marte are no longer New York Mets by August 1st. Some version of them getting traded or getting cut. Obviously, we just spoke about Marte, but I've been thinking about this for a long time with Jeff McNeil. We have heard about it every year, when he's had good years, when he's had bad years. This is a guy that we've seen him win a batting title. We've seen him win a Silver Slugger. Tremendous potential at the plate. He's getting a little older there. I think 2022 he won the Silver Slugger. He got the batting title. Yeah. He's a guy that's getting older. He is not really. I don't know. This is a guy that's talking about changing his swing and looking for more power. At like 32 years old, I don't really know what he's doing. He's no longer a plus defender. So like you're not really getting that. And he never really was a Gold Glover in the field. He was just good. He was solid. He was a solid defender.
He's good everywhere.
He was good everywhere you put him.
Right field, so
right, corner, outfield, second base, even third base at times. He was ugly, but he could play it.
He was their emergency catcher too.
There is kind of a logjam at this point. You've got Brett Baty that's here now. You've got Acuna that's chomping at the bit to come up. You've got Vientos at third, and you've got Ronnie Mauricio that is going to play some version of third or second or DH or maybe left field. So there's truly no room for Jeff McNeil anymore. When he comes back from injury, I'm sure that they'll find him his at bats just to try to bring up that value. But he's a guy that's just been way too hot and cold. There's been no consistent power there. And he's no longer a stud defender. And so I think it's time to move on, and I think the Mets will pull the plug on that. Like I said, it may not be a trade. It may just be an outright release on August 1st, August 2nd. If they can't trade him, it would not shock me that they just release him. And they kind of do right by him and say, hey, listen, there's really no room for you here. We can keep you on as a bench bat, but I'm sure you want to play every day. And he should play every day because he's that good. He's that good of an MLB player to be playing every day. Just maybe not with us. I think maybe an option for him If we're talking about trade partners, maybe there's a spot for him in Detroit if Glaber Torres does, because Glaber's going to play. I think
I don't
Glaber's
know if
going
he's
to
playing
play.
second or short.
I think he's playing short because the idea was
Oh.
that Javi Baez is going to move to third, or he's going to be like their defensive utility guy.
Yeah.
He's another one just cut
For
in.
me, that's someone that makes too much sense. I think he's from Florida or he lives down there in the offseason. A lot of these guys do. But
Who
I
are you
think it
talking
makes
about? Glaber? Or
Jeff.
are you talking about Jeff? Okay.
Jeff. And I think it makes too much sense for someone like the Marlins who need, I don't know the number, and I wish I did, but there's a number they need to hit
To
in
hit.
terms of salary to not get some fines, or I don't know exactly what it is.
I think it's
fines.
to not go to court with the MLBPA. It's
Yeah.
Oakland had just, or now Sacramento, the A's just spent enough this all season.
Yeah,
to
and
not,
they spent, and they had some good signings there, but the Marlins have not done it, and it's by the end of the season.
Mhm.
That it happens. So if they can add during the season, obviously it becomes much harder to add because say they pick Jeff McNeil up at the trade deadline. They don't assume $15 million on
They're
their
only-
books
yeah.
for this year. They
They're
only
taking on
assume the
about
rest of the
$6
year.
million.
Not even. Yeah, 2 months. 2 months. It's a third.
making
so maybe
$15
$5 million.
Yeah.
So maybe $5 million. So, but I would look for the Marlins to take on some capital, and that would make sense for Jeff McNeil because he can go there. He can play every day. They're a bad team, and it's not like he needs to. The contender team's going to trade for him because unless they're really desperate. But then the Marlins don't have to worry about winning, and they get to add the salary if need be. So I think that makes sense.
Yeah, that's bold prediction number one. Once again, don't know how really bold that is.
I don't know if it's bold. It's definitely it can be boldish,
That's one thing. I think my second bold prediction, something we brought up before.
Yeah.
Ronnie Mauricio finds his way onto this roster at some point this year and is playing in the playoffs for the New York Mets and playing every day in the playoffs for the New York Mets.
That's bold.
Bold.
This might be bold. It's not my last one, but I think Ronnie Mauricio is best served as a DH. He's not found a home in the field.
Yeah.
He's not found a home in the field. I've always thought he was an outfielder. He's big. He's big, got a good arm. But I think he'll find his way as a DH, especially I think he's a switch hitter, if I'm not mistaken, right?
I have no idea.
So you don't have to worry about the righty lefty DH. He's just your DH. I think before all is said and done, that's where he'll find his way here if he stays.
And listen, maybe he's a part of a trade too. I mean, you have to assume someone's going to be a part of a trade this year. Like there's too
100%.
much young talent in this system. And
especially up the middle,
and there's
there's center field.
There's only 9 guys that could be on the field at once. So
Exactly.
someone's got to go. Hopefully it's not Ronnie. I like Ronnie, but anyways, that's my second one.
Mind if I just segue off of that?
Yeah. Sorry.
Into my bold prediction 3, Luis Angel Acuna is traded by August 1st. I don't think he has a home here. Not that we won't be accepting. I know the fans love him. I loved what he did at the end of last season, but just me personally, I don't know how many people believe, agree with me on this. I don't think he's going to be a good major leaguer. I really don't. I think he's going to be what Ahmed Rosario has been in his career. Basically, he's someone that does not walk a lot. He doesn't have a great eye. He can steal bases. He can play solid to good defense, and he has a little bit of pop in the bat. And he can hit the ball. He doesn't hit it enough to be walking.
You don't see more Jimenez than you do Rosario, because I see Andres Jimenez in him. I see a great defender that's going to hit close to average and steal base. Well, I don't know if
I see Ahmed Rosario, someone that plays good defense. Just
Rosario
doesn't have
did
good.
Not play good defense. He was horrific at shortstop.
No, yeah, he was at times,
was
but there's no exact comp. But the whole thing with the bat for me is Acuna just does not have the plate discipline. It's not even the inconsistency; it's the discipline, because he can sit there and he will not draw walks. And when you're not drawing walks, you need to hit 300. This is Jeff. This is what Jeff McNeil was doing, and you were okay with it when he was hitting 300. Now he's not hitting 300. Here we are. So that's my last bold prediction.
I agree with you that he can be traded. I disagree with you on what I think he is. I think he's a stud defender. And I also think if Brett Beatty, and I don't think Brett Beatty will, because I've had high hopes for Brett Beatty for a long time. So I might as well stay on the fucking train, right? If we're going off the tracks, we're going off the tracks. I'll go down right with it. But
at this point, the wheels are rattling. They're ready to go.
If Brett Beatty doesn't work out at second, then I think it's Luis Angel Acuna.
Yeah. No, yeah.
That comes up to take, especially if McNeil is either not here or still hurt.
Yeah.
You know what, man? I also think that there's some, going back to McNeil, I think that there might be some, like, I don't know if the word is vitriol, but like, there can't be a good relationship right now between Jeff and the Mets because, like, Jeff is swinging a golf club. I mean, I know Kyle Gehling over at Barstool had tweeted this, and I retweeted. I couldn't agree more. You're swinging a golf club all off season. Like, if something is off, take care of it then. Why are you waiting? Why are we just hearing about it now?
So is that what officially came out, that something was off in the offseason and he continued to play golf?
I don't know, but like it was.
I thought it was that he was just saying that as a major leaguer, how can you do this in your free time? Which I disagree with. He should be able to do whatever the fuck he wants in his free time. Whether the Mets agree with it or not, that's a different story. But this guy, it's the offseason. They're not playing baseball. It's not like he's playing Thursday. They have an off day Friday, and they're playing play Thursday. They play Friday night. He decides to get 18 in Friday morning. No,
but
he's playing in the offseason.
He does do that when they're on the road, and that's a problem. Like if you're a guy that you have not figured out your fucking swing yet. You do whatever you want. It's a free country, but like it's also a free country for me doing a podcast here to call you a fucking idiot. If you still haven't figured, you are a guy that has won a batting title, has won a Silver Slugger, like we said, and has also seen the bottom of this league. You need to show some consistency here. Like you are a guy that does not put the ball over the wall, does not steal, but you have no speed. You're not playing Gold Glove defense. Like there's got to be some part of your game that stands out. Like in the MLB, this is a young man's game. If you can't do one thing really well, you're not going to be here. You're just not.
Yeah.
Right? And you're going to be that guy that plays a season with the Marlins and a half a season with the fucking Mariners or the Pirates and that's it. And then no one hears about you ever again. And God bless you, you made some money, but you have not figured out your swing yet. Do whatever you want with your time. It's your right to go play golf, but figure it the fuck out.
I agree.
Figure it out, man.
And I think to kind of piggyback off what Stevie just said, I think they know he's been trying to replace him. I think there were active talks last trade deadline. I think there's been active talks in the offseason. Not only that, I don't think there's a great relationship with him and the rest of the clubhouse. I think obviously when things are good, they're all having a good time. They're all vibing. Mm-hmm. But the thing is also you see it with Lindor. Lindor's close with a lot of the guys. Marte. I think it was Marte, Quintana when he was here. I forget who else. Oh, it was Sevy. Oddly enough, two guys that aren't here. But they went to Japan with their wives together. What's it called? Soto is friends with Marte. These guys just seem a lot closer, and he just seems to be the odd man out. And it seems
and it was
like
him and Alonso that were like best friends, and that, like Alonso's another guy that might be on his way out too. I mean, he's here today. He's here for 25, but there's no guarantee that he's here any further than 25. So, I have been anybody that listens. I mean, I've been a Jeff McNeil defender for a very long time. It's just getting harder and harder to defend this guy because he does some of these dumb things that you just want to the throwing of the helmet all the time and screaming and cursing. Like, I love the emotion to a point, but it gets to be a bit much when you're hitting 260, 250 with 3 home runs in August. Like I'm just being honest. Like Lindor does that. You're going to accept it because it's Lindor, right? He's
because the next month he's going to hit 350 and 12 home runs.
Like you're not going to tolerate that from Jeff McNeil. So I didn't have did you have a third? That was your third, right?
Acuna. Yeah. Acuna being traded by
your third.
August 1st by the deadline.
I guess my next bold prediction, and we've talked about him quite a bit. I think going forward from this season on, I think Brett Beatty is going to be the starting second baseman on this team for a long time. Either that or
third.
I see him moving to third, but like the rest of this season, I see him second.
His year.
Yeah, this is his year. I think he's gonna get the run the full year. And I think he's going to prove to Mets fans why he shouldn't be traded, why he should stay here, why we should develop around this guy. And I think for the foreseeable future, Brett Beatty's going to be your second baseman. Now, going into next year, I can't guarantee that. I could see him, like I said, moving to third because I just don't really see a world like if there was a world where Pete Alonso and the Mets were going to work out a long-term deal. I think it would have happened already.
Yeah.
And listen, maybe he takes a different approach to next year's free agency, but I don't see him. I don't see him playing on 1 year left at 24 million. I just don't see that.
Who's that? Pete Alonso, right?
Pete Alonso. He bet on himself and he lost the first time around. I just don't see him betting on himself again at what'll be 31, 32. And it seems like every single team, if you listen to Jeff Passan, every single team was not worried about years 1, 2, and 3 of that deal. What they were worried about was years 5, 6, 7, because he was looking for like a 6 to 8 year deal, and he wasn't getting it. And they're worried about the power diminishing. They've seen that one too many times. I don't know how much that power is going to diminish. I just think the ability to hit relatively consistently is going to diminish with him.
Yeah.
You know, this is a guy I could see at 36 years old still putting 30, 35 balls over the wall every year, which if you're hitting 30, 35 a year, you're a power hitter. I mean, that's what you are. But I think, the concern is those strikeout numbers are high. They've never gone down. They've always been high, and he's got to hit a little more consistently for average. That average is dipped. I mean, it's just what it is. If he's going to be a career 265, we could live with that. What we can't live with is 240, 245.
Yeah,
that's not something that we could really. And I know we
don't.
don't.
The first 2 years of his career was floating around 260, 270.
Yeah,
I think even top like 277 was his highest.
272 or 278 was what he hit in
271.
271.
Yeah.
So, I mean, if we get 271 out of Pete Alonso, this is a guy that's going to get. He'll never win the MVP at hitting 271, but he will get some votes hitting it.
Well, it depends. If he hits 60 home runs and it's 271, he damn sure will win.
You're damn sure he will, absolutely. So we'll see. But that's I guess that's my bold. I wish I had some time to think about that. You should have told me before the show.
I called you when we spoke earlier.
That's why.
You're being.
You did not mention that. You talked about doing your laundry and you mumbled through your hangover. So that's what you did.
Maybe I said it to myself.
Maybe you said it to yourself. Yeah, you fucking asshole. Yeah, that's what you did. All right. We will see you all Thursday. Hopefully around 3. We will talk about that. But stay tuned to our Twitter. We will tweet out whenever we're going live. And we got some familiar faces in here in the chat. So that's good. Actually, it's just Stevie Mac.
Mostly Stevie and chat. Angela.
And Angela saying hello. But we've got some viewers. So good to see everyone. Stevie Max asking if there's a football show. Stevie, I just had a baby, so I am really trying to prioritize what I can and cannot do. Money does not come in from this show, so it is kind of on the back burner. Football, we will definitely do a show the weekend of the draft. I was trying to do one the night of the first round, but it looks like I'm going to be staying working nights. So I just, if I go back to days that week, we will absolutely do a show Thursday night for the draft. If I'm on nights, it's not going to be something I can do. Yeah, because I got to leave my house about 7:30 to get to work, and it's just not really the first round starts I think 8 o'clock. So like I thought about even if I could use potentially the work trailer, but it's going to be a lot of favors.
You exhausted every option you had.
Yeah, I'd be asking for a lot of favors for me to go live for like 40 minutes. So it's not something I could do. I'd honestly, what I'd really rather do if we can't do a show the weekend, the day of the first round, then I would just elect to do something Sunday where we can talk about all 3 rounds for some specific teams. Thank you, Stevie Mac. Appreciate it. For some specific teams, Lions, Jets, Giants. Now we have Chase tagging along, so we'll get into the Patriots. We'll get into the Cowboys. So, all right. Thank you, everyone. Do you have anything else, Zach?
No, that's it for me.
All right. Thank you, everyone, for tuning in, and we will see you opening day. We'll see you Thursday. Let's go, Mets.
Thanks, everyone. Let's go, Mets.